Hey beautiful people, I'm bringing you on a walk through the woods just beside where we live in Madoc. It's spectacular over here. You saw some of the footage where we were, some of the fields. Well, now it's pine forest. Goes from deciduous and open plains to pine, and this is right by the Black River. It's very moist here. There's some marsh and then the gorgeous Black River, which I'm sure I'll get a chance to show you in a little bit. And we danced last night. It was a Thursday, another wild night at the church, St. Cyril, Ecstatic Dance Toronto. For those of you that are joining, that don't know, we're a community that dances every Thursday at the St. Cyril Church in Toronto. And I wanted to bring you all here. Feeling so good today. Friday is a day off. It's a kind of a day of Sabbath for Julia and I, and this is one of the places that we go to. So I felt like this would be the right setting to speak about what I'm doing here on video. I've created this YouTube channel, and I want to use this as a tool to share some ideas about what we're doing on our dance floor, and to also get into a bit of a dialogue with you about that. And there's an offering here as well. This is all coming from a place that I've wanted to share from for quite some time. It's based on my own journey. It's based on my own dance, my own experience as a dancer on our floor, in this body, with all of you. There's no course here or anything like that. This is just going to be an ongoing series that I'll be sharing probably through Instagram, through the Ecstatic Dance mediums, and on this YouTube channel. So I would like to start just by sharing from my own experience. Everything that I share, everything that I have to say is based on my experience of dance, what it means for me, how I see it as what I call, what kind of came to me as a great terminology, as a portal for being. And there's many portals. Meditation is a portal. Well, there's an infinite number of portals. The portal of dance is, is the one that all of you engage in, likely, perhaps on a weekly basis, that we do together, all together, in movement. And it has many dimensions to it. Wow. The sound of some very loud frogs at the end of this pond. That's incredible. So, what are we doing on that dance floor? What is happening on that dance floor? I'll share it from my perspective, my own experience of dance. Some of you know, most of you don't. I started in Montreal, and I was a Five Rhythms teacher. Five Rhythms is a guided dance modality. This individual did some body work on me, and he just invited me to come to this dance thing that he did. So I said, and I was in this place of exploration with dance. I said, I'm sure a lot of people say they'll come. You'll see me on your dance floor one day soon. I did no research about Five Rhythms, nothing whatsoever. In fact, I barely thought about it. I just had this relationship with him. His name is Eric. And I showed up in my jeans. I didn't even bring shorts or workout pants. And I saw he threw me a pair of army pants. I put them on. I saw people on the floor just in the warm-up stage, just moving and just exploring the freedom of their own body as we do at the beginning of dance. And I thought, oh, well, okay, this is something new. All right, that's how it's going to be then. And I just fell into a place that in some ways was not familiar to me, not part of my routine or repertoire, but it was at least in my comfort zone enough to fall into a deep place of enjoyment. And as I tell this story, within 20 minutes, it felt like I was flying. It felt like it was the freest that I can recall ever being in my body with people in waking consciousness outside of dream world. And since then, I've been coming to dance every week. I have barely missed a week. And I know that's my experience. And some of you have had a similar experience. And some of you have not. Now, no matter whether you've had a different experience or a similar experience, my reflection of all of us on the dance floor is that, again, we're opening up a portal. We're opening up a portal of our own being, a connection to ourselves. That's where I see that it begins. And on the journey to opening that portal, and I feel that it's a portal that starts with a connection to self, and then there's a continuum that goes off into what I would call space, the space with others, the connection with others, and sort of off into the future, into something that I don't want to really define. There's a lot of challenges along the way. There's a lot of challenges that we each have to connecting to ourselves, connecting to our own, just being liberated in our body, just being free to move outside of a place of judgment. And we each struggle with that in our own individual way. It's ever changing. It's not easy, or it's not always easy. And whether we begin a dance practice similarly to how I began it, where I felt a connection to myself and my essence pretty well immediately, all along the way, there are challenges for us to be able to connect. And I have taken that journey, I don't want to say seriously. It involves the most important aspect of being alive that I know of. Being on that dance floor, and that dance floor is a microcosm of our lives. That dance floor is a microcosm of our relationships in intimacy, and relationships in friendship, and relationships in family and with the world. Whatever we're going through in our world, whatever we're going through in our lives, whatever dynamics play out, we bring them onto the floor. Every week when we show up, they're in our bodies. We have, we've arrived with suitcases of all of that kind of patterned way, all of that patterned energy and patterned behavior. And what I find personally, and in my dialogues with others, and their shares with me, to be so ecstatic about dancing the way that we do in ecstatic dance, if that's what you want to call it, or maybe you call it something else, maybe you engage in something else, is the way that those stories, which no matter who we are, no matter what's going on in our lives, there is some amount of oppressiveness, some amount of limitation that we are self-imposing or allowing to be imposed on us, that is taking place. And on that dance floor, to whatever degree we experience, we liberate ourselves from that. We liberate ourselves from that, from being tied to anything that is not just us in the moment, with the potential, a capacity to move from one moment to the next in what is. And when we do that, even at 10% or 5%, it's glorious. It's just the best feeling, I feel, and what I would say is because that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do on earth, in this body, and with each other. And it's hard because there's lots of normatives out there that, whether by design, if you think, or not, are keeping us from being in the full potential of an experience of just being alive, being in connection to nature, by being in connection with ourselves, because this is the conduit through which we experience everything. So on that dance floor, we're reestablishing our connection. I speak little, especially in dance. I'm reticent to say what anything is. So I will return to this disclosure, this disclaimer, that what I say is from these eyes and from my experience. I'm not saying what anything is for you. In fact, that's really why there's so little talking in our space, because we, all of us, we hold this. Julia started our community, but we all hold this idea that our space is there for each of us to own. We want to own our experience, and it's not an easy thing to do. If a DJ is too fantastic, or if an altar is too compelling, these things can bring us out of the central idea that we're here to connect. And if we cannot connect to ourselves, if we can't experience what it is to be in our own skin, then our body is not going to work as the conduit to connect with the outside world. So that's what I see is going on. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in the world of meditation. That's what, in some form or another, all of us are talking about in the conscious communities, in the conscious circles, through conscious practices, is to employ more of our spirit in this body, so we can employ more of this body and our spirit in the world. I think that's probably as much as I want to say about that. I hope that resonates with all of you. Feel free to share if it does or if it doesn't. And so for me, the way that my dance begins, in a way, is kind of the same every time. What I do is different, but how I'm doing it is the same. I start the way I would start entering into a sacred space. A sacred, meaning what I would call sacred is where nothing else is more important. This time and this connection is the most important thing going on. And in meditation, we'll often use mantras, or people will stare at a point, or use various devices to try to quieten mind. And what I find so fantastic in our dance is that we get to work with our body. We get to connect to what it is like to be in our body. Inevitably, we have walked into onto our dance floor with some amount of pain, or difficulty, or stress, or something, or delight, desire. And we get to release that pain, release that stress. What does it mean to release it? It means to feel it, to begin with. It begins with sensing it, knowing that something is there. So if we're stressed, or if we're sore, if we're in pain, we get to start holding ourselves, taking care of ourselves, stretching, moving. All of these things are just tools for self-care. And that's the way that I like to begin each and every dance. So I want to talk about really the only thing that I have to offer. the only thing that I have to share with you all, which is what has worked for me, what is working for me, to share with what I do and what I have seen that is allowing me to grow as a dancer on our dance floor, in my body, in my relationships with you all, and in my life. And this first video is really just a share. It's just a bit of a snapshot of my perspective. And the next video, the next sequence of videos, I'll be sharing with you things that I do, practices that work for me, or I see have worked for others, but always through my own experience. That's how I operate. That's where I operate from. Not from any manuals, not from any books. I learn from other people. I learn from books. I've done many things in my life, but it all gets measured and tested in this body. And being in dance is about, from my perspective again, being in this body to begin with. Being in this body means feeling this body. Being in sensation. Allowing ourselves to have a sensory experience, and to allow that sensory experience to guide us. The sensory experience, our senses are telling us what we want to do and what we don't want to do. Our mind is telling us what we think we ought to do, or what we think we might like to do, or what we think we should do, or reminds us of what we were told we shouldn't do. And our mind is useful, but not for sensing what we want. And so the things that I would like to share involve being in sensation, and tools, devices, ways of being that I use and I have been wanting to share to help bring you more into sensation. And then, as I said, it's a journey. It's a continuum. It's a trajectory. If we cannot feel ourselves, if we cannot open up this conduit of being in the body, as far as I am concerned, it's basically impossible to do anything good in the world. How can we know that anything is good unless we can sense and feel that it is good? So first it's about opening this. First it's about returning to how the body operates. And then, well, the many things that we can do. So sensation and connection. Sensation, feeling, connecting to ourselves, and through that, connecting to each other to the extent that we want, which can be measured by what we feel we desire. We cannot know what we desire unless we feel it. So thank you for listening to all of that. And I invite you, come with me on this journey to explore what dance is for you, how dance can be something potentially deeper. I'm not saying that I have the answers for you. I'm not saying I figured it out. I'm saying I have a beautiful way. We all have something to share. This is what I have to share. So yeah, these next several videos are going to be things that I wish to share with you. Dogs are in play, deeply in play. Here's the Black River behind me. It's just so spectacular right now. It's up about 5 feet, and it's ice cold and refreshing. We went in last week for the first time. Speaking of a sensorial experience. Yeah, so thank you for listening once again. Keep your eyes peeled. There's going to be mention of what is to come in the newsletters, and I hope that you can join me on this journey.